What started as a routine promotional appearance turned into television chaos when Brad Pitt confronted Jimmy Kimmel over relentless personal attacks, culminating in Hollywood's biggest star walking off stage in disgust. The Tonight Show audience settled into their seats expecting another lighthearted celebrity interview, but they were about to witness one of the most explosive confrontations in late-night television history. Brad Pitt, there to promote his latest film, appeared relaxed as he walked onto the familiar set, waving to the enthusiastic crowd. Jimmy Kimmel greeted him with his trademark grin, but those familiar with the host's recent commentary could sense an underlying tension. Kimmel had spent weeks making jokes at Pitt's expense during his monologues, particularly targeting the actor's highly publicized custody battle and personal struggles. Industry insiders whispered that Pitt's team had repeatedly asked Kimmel to tone down the material, but the host seemed determined to push boundaries for the sake of ratings. "Brad, great to have you back," Kimmel said, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "You look good for someone who's been through the ringer lately." The audience laughed nervously as Pitt's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "Thanks for having me, Jimmy," he replied, maintaining his professional composure despite the obvious dig. Kimmel wasted no time diving into controversial territory. "So let's talk about your new movie, but first, I have to ask about all the drama in your personal life. Our audience loves the behind-the-scenes stuff." Pitt shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I'd rather focus on the film if that's okay. We've got some great stories from the set." But Kimmel pressed on, seemingly oblivious to his guest's discomfort. "Come on, Brad. You can't expect to come on my show and not talk about the elephant in the room. The custody issues, the legal battles, the leaked court documents. It's all over the tabloids." The studio audience began to sense the growing tension. What had started as typical celebrity banter was quickly escalating into something more uncomfortable. Pitt's publicist, seated in the front row, looked increasingly concerned. "Jimmy, I came here to promote my film and talk about my work," Pitt said firmly. "I'm not here to discuss my personal life or provide entertainment at my family's expense." Kimmel leaned back in his chair, his grin becoming more predatory. "But that's what makes good television, Brad. The real stuff, not just some sanitized promotional interview." The atmosphere in the studio had shifted dramatically. What began as playful ribbing had crossed into genuinely hostile territory. Pitt's jaw clenched as he processed Kimmel's words, and long-time viewers could see the actor's famous temper beginning to surface. "You know what makes good television, Jimmy?" Pitt's voice carried a dangerous edge that made the audience hold their breath. "Respect. Something you seem to have forgotten." Kimmel's response would prove to be the match that lit the fuse. "Oh, come on, Brad. You're a big boy. You can handle a few jokes. Besides, when you put your life out there like you have, it becomes fair game." The studio fell dead silent as Pitt stared at his host, his composure finally beginning to crack. The cameras captured every micro-expression as Hollywood's golden boy prepared to unleash years of accumulated frustration on live television. "Fair game?" Pitt's voice was low and controlled, but everyone in the studio could hear the fury beneath it. "You think my children are fair game, Jimmy? You think their pain is your punchline?" Kimmel, perhaps finally realizing he'd gone too far, attempted to backpedal. "Brad, I didn't mean—" "No, you meant exactly what you said," Pitt interrupted, his voice rising. "For months, you've been making jokes about the most difficult period of my life. About my kids. About their mother. You've turned our family's private struggles into your nightly entertainment." The audience was completely silent now, many looking uncomfortable as they witnessed the raw emotion pouring out of the typically composed actor. Camera operators zoomed in, capturing every moment of what was quickly becoming television history. Kimmel tried to regain control of the situation. "Look, Brad, comedy is about pushing boundaries. It's what I do. People expect it from me." "People expect decency," Pitt shot back, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. "They expect you to remember that there are real people behind your jokes. Real children who have to hear their father being mocked on television every night. The host's face flushed red as he realized his show was spiraling out of control. I think you're overreacting here, Brad. It's just comedy. Just comedy. Pitt stood up abruptly, towering over Kimmel. You made jokes about my sobriety, about my therapy, about the most vulnerable moments of my life. And you call that just comedy? Members of the audience began murmuring among themselves, some pulling out their phones to record the unprecedented confrontation. Kimmel's producers frantically signaled from the wings, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the drama play. Out. Sit down, Brad, Kimmel said, his voice taking on a condescending tone that only fueled Pitt's anger. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? Pitt laughed bitterly. You've been making a scene out of my life for months, Jimmy. The difference is, I never asked for it. Kimmel's mask of friendly showmanship finally dropped completely. You're a public figure, Brad. You don't get to pick and choose what people talk about. When you mess up your life as publicly as you did, it becomes everyone's business. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Pitt's face went completely white, then flushed with anger. The audience gasped audibly, recognizing that they were witnessing something that would be replayed and analyzed for years to come. There it is, Pitt said quietly, his voice now deadly calm. There's the real Jimmy Kimmel, not the friendly talk, show host, but the vulture who feeds on other people's pain. Kimmel, apparently realizing he'd crossed a line from which there was no return, doubled down on his cruelty. Oh, spare me the victim act, Brad. You brought this on yourself with your choices. The studio erupted in uncomfortable murmurs as Pitt took a step closer to the host's desk. Security guards positioned themselves strategically around the stage, ready to intervene if necessary. The tension was so thick, it was almost suffocating. You want to talk about choices, Jimmy? Pitt's voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. Let's talk about your choices. The choice to mock a man fighting for his sobriety. The choice to make jokes about children caught in the middle of a custody battle. The choice to profit off human misery. Kimmel shifted uncomfortably in his chair, suddenly looking much smaller than usual. Brad, maybe we should take a commercial break. No, Pitt said firmly, his eyes blazing. You wanted this conversation, Jimmy. You've been having it without me for months. Now let's finish it. The audience was transfixed, phones recording from every angle as Hollywood's most beloved star systematically dismantled the talk show host. Even the camera crew seemed frozen, unsure whether they should keep rolling or cut away from the career-ending moment unfolding before them. You sit behind this desk every night, Pitt continued, his voice gaining strength, acting like you're America's friend, like you're just a regular guy making harmless jokes. But you're not harmless, Jimmy. You're a bully with a platform, and you use it to kick people when they're down. Kimmel's face was now bright red, sweat beading on his forehead. I think you need to calm down, Brad. This is getting out of hand. Getting out of hand? Pitt laughed harshly. What's out of hand is a grown man making jokes about another man's children for ratings. What's out of hand is turning someone's struggle with addiction into comedy material. What's out of hand is you thinking you can hide behind the word comedy when you're just being cruel. The host tried desperately to regain control. Look, if I offended you, if? Pitt's voice rose dangerously. If you offended me? Jimmy, you've spent months turning my family's pain into your punchlines. You've made my children targets. There's no if about it. Members of the audience were now openly recording, sensing they were witnessing television history. Some looked genuinely disturbed by the raw emotion on display, while others seemed energized by the unprecedented drama. Kimmel, realizing his show was imploding, made one final catastrophic mistake. You know what, Brad? Maybe if you'd been a better father in the first place, we wouldn't have so much material to work with. The studio fell completely silent. The comment was so brutal, so beyond the pale, that even Kimmel seemed shocked by his own words. Pitt's face went through a series of emotions: shock, pain, and then pure rage. "That's it," Pitt said quietly, his voice now deadly calm. "That's the real Jimmy Kimmel. Not the lovable goofball act you put on for the cameras. The real you. A petty, vindictive man who attacks people's children for laughs," the actor began, removing his microphone, his movements deliberate and controlled despite the fury radiating from him. "You want to know what's truly pathetic, Jimmy? You had one of the biggest stars in Hollywood sitting across from you, ready to talk about his work, his craft, his passion. Instead, you chose to attack his family." Kimmel was now visibly panicking, realizing the magnitude of his mistake. "Brad, wait! I'm done waiting," Pitt snapped, tossing his microphone onto the desk with enough force to make Kimmel flinch. "I'm done being polite while you profit off my pain. I'm done pretending this is just entertainment when you're destroying people's lives for ratings." The actor stood to his full height, looking down at the cowering talk show host with undisguised contempt. "You know what the real tragedy is, Jimmy? You used to be funny. You used to make people laugh without tearing them down. Now you're just another vulture feeding off celebrity misery because you've run out of actual talent." Kimmel opened his mouth to respond, but Pitt wasn't finished. "And the worst part? You do it all with that fake smile, pretending you're everyone's friend while you stab people in the back for applause. At least tabloid journalists are honest about being parasites." The studio audience was now completely captivated by the verbal destruction unfolding before them. Some were recording on their phones, others sat in stunned silence, witnessing the complete professional annihilation of a major television host by one of Hollywood's biggest stars. "Brad, please," Kimmel stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can we just—" "Just what?" Pitt cut him off. "Pretend this didn't happen? Go back to your scripted questions and fake laughs? No, Jimmy, this is who you really are, and now everyone gets to see it." The actor began walking toward the exit, but turned back one final time to deliver his closing statement. "You want to know what separates a real man from a coward, Jimmy? A real man takes responsibility for his actions. A real man doesn't hide behind comedy when he hurts people. A real man protects children. He doesn't make them targets." Pitt's voice carried across the silent studio with devastating clarity. "You've spent months attacking my family, my sobriety, my struggles as a father. You've turned my children's pain into your punchlines. But here's what you don't understand. Every joke you made, every cruel comment, every cheap shot only proved one thing. You're everything I never want to be." The security guard stepped aside as Pitt headed for the exit, recognizing that the confrontation was over. Kimmel sat frozen behind his desk, his face pale and his hands trembling, as he realized the magnitude of what had just occurred. "This isn't entertainment," Pitt called out as he reached the edge of the stage. "This is accountability, and it's long overdue." With that, Brad Pitt walked off the Jimmy Kimmel live stage, leaving behind a stunned audience and a thoroughly humiliated host. The cameras continued rolling as Kimmel struggled to regain his composure, but the damage was irreversible. The incident immediately exploded across social media, with clips of the confrontation going viral within minutes. "Respect Brad Pitt" began trending worldwide as viewers overwhelmingly sided with the actor, praising him for standing up to what they saw as Kimmel's bullying behavior. The talk show host faced an unprecedented backlash, with advertisers pulling sponsorships and ratings plummeting in the following weeks. Industry insiders called it a watershed moment for late-night television, forcing a conversation about the ethics of celebrity comedy and the real human cost of entertainment. Pitt's powerful stand against exploitation resonated far beyond Hollywood, inspiring others to speak out against similar treatment. The confrontation became a defining moment that highlighted the importance of respect and professionalism in the entertainment industry, proving that even the biggest stars deserve basic human dignity, and that true courage sometimes means walking away from those who refuse to provide it.